Everybody, Sam Amico Hoops Wire live on 330 to go. Thanks again for joining. Happy Father's Day weekend. I just now realized it's Father's Day weekend, and as a father myself, I truly do take the weekend to celebrate, not just one day. I try to convince everybody it's a Father's Day weekend. It's also, at least around my house, they roll their eyes, ignore me, act like I'm not even talking, which makes me feel more like a father than at any other time, actually. It's also Friday the 13th. I just realized that like late last night. For whatever reason, I love Friday the 13th. When everybody else in the house goes to bed, or if there's nobody else in the house, it's just me, I will watch Friday the 13th, the original, on Friday the 13th. In case you were wondering, gosh, I wonder if Sam Amico gets out enough. The answer is clearly no. I have no life. Anyway, here at the 330 to go studio, I always discuss the mug. Today you will see this one has a, excuse me, tie. And on the inside, it says Super Dad. So I don't know if that was necessarily by design, but it always works out here with the free coffee at the 330 to go studio. Excuse me, and already I need some. But there was something else I was going to say about Friday the 13th, but I lost my train of thought. No, I know what it is. There's a very interesting story, speaking of ties, in which Kenny Atkinson is quoted. And I'm going to share the highlights with you before we really get into it. There's a very interesting story on The Athletic about coaches, NBA coaches, and how they're wearing the quarter zips now and the slacks. Well, our old friend JB Bickerstaff said, I love it. I love that, because NBA coaches used to wear suits, right, on the sidelines. At about the time of the NBA bubble in 2020, they switched over to the quarter zips just because it made it easier when you're staying in a hotel, as everybody in the Disney bubble in 2020 in the NBA was staying in hotels. So they just said, you know what, just wear your quarter zips or something. So now every NBA coach does that, right? I like it. I think it's better. JB Bickerstaff in the article said he likes it a lot better too. He said, just think about when you go on a 2-week road trip. It's so much easier to pack. Quinn Snyder, the Atlanta Hawks coach, said, I'd rather worry about coaching the game than, sitting there during a timeout wondering whether my belt matches my shoes. So the quarter zips, this is going back to this mug. This mug provided all the content we need. The quarter zips have overtaken the ties and sports coats and all of that. So Kenny Atkinson in this article says he would prefer it if the league went back to coaches wearing basically suits or sports coats and ties. He said, I miss it. He said, his daughter, Kenny Atkinson, has a daughter who's 14 years old, will say, Dad, why don't you dress as nice as you used to during the games? Well, I find that interesting. Kenny Atkinson was the one coach who came out and said, I want us to go back to wearing jackets and ties and all that and dressing up as head coaches. Rick Carlisle, the coach of the Indiana Pacers, who currently lead the NBA Finals 2-1, said, we discussed this at our coaches' meetings. And it's not just head coaches. It is all coaches. Whether we should wear ties and sports coats again. He said, and unanimously, the answer is no. So clearly Kenny Atkinson is out there on an island. The NBA's rule is you're allowed to wear the quarter zips, but you can wear jackets and ties and all that and dress shirts if you want. We're not prohibiting that. So Kenny Atkinson could do that if he wanted to do that. It's not against the rules. Most coaches, seems like almost all of them, wear the quarter zips. I like them. I asked the NBA, how do I get one of those coaches' quarter zips? And they shot me down politely. But they're like, look, Amico, those things aren't for sale. I was like, well, I wasn't going to buy one. I was going to see if you'd give me one. And that was quickly shot down as well. So that's a very interesting story on The Athletic about dress codes. Clearly, we have none here at 3:30 to go. I honestly had this on. I woke up, put this on, put on my hat, and I was coming to the studio, and I'm like, I went into my closet, and I'm like, should I wear a collared shirt? And I'm like, I don't have any I like. You know what? They won't. There are other things that they will cut me off of this show for, but dress is clearly not one of them. At least I don't think, unless we all of a sudden go dark. But anyway, it is Friday the 13th afternoon, and yes, the Cavaliers are spinning on the rumor mill. As every team who doesn't win a championship, pretty much. If you don't get to the finals, you're pretty much spinning on the rumor mill, right? The New York Knicks have created their own rumor mill by firing a very good coach in Tom Thibodeau after their first Eastern Conference Finals appearance in 26 years. A coach who has led them to the playoffs 4 straight years, and that's the first time they've been to at least the second round in 3 straight years in like 45 years. So, and then we're running on HoopsWire. The Knicks are interviewing all these coaches. Have you seen this? They've interviewed, or they're trying to. They requested permission to interview 6 coaches who are currently have jobs. Billy Donovan with the Bulls, Jason Kidd with the Mavericks, Chris Finch with the Timberwolves. There's a few others in there. Ime Udoka from the Rockets. And there's somebody else. But the Knicks have requested to interview all of these other teams' head coaches, and they've been denied every time. And I'm like, what? Was this your plan when you fired your coach, is to try to steal a coach from someone else? And it's not going well. Now, listen to this. The head coaching candidates in New York are former Grizzlies coach Taylor Jenkins, who was fired like 3 weeks with left in the season, and former Cavs head coach Mike Brown is considered a strong candidate in New York. I love Mike Brown. Wonderful guy. Had a great time covering him both times in Cleveland. Just always polite, personable, great guy. I don't think he'll fly in New York. I just don't. I don't. He's too Midwestern nice guy. He doesn't have that New York edge. I think he's a great coach. I think he's a very good coach. I just don't know that he has the personality to fly there. Anyway, back to the Cavaliers. We've heard the rumors. Darius Garland, since we met last week, he's had toe surgery, right? Which is expected to keep him out. The Cavs are saying he'll be ready or should be ready for training camp or right around there. Some reports have said he will be potentially miss like the first 5 to 10 games of next season. I think either way is fine. 5 to 10 games, the first 5 to 10 games is not a big deal. The Indiana Pacers started 10-15 this year. They're the best team in the NBA at the moment because they have a 2-1 lead over the Oklahoma City Thunder in the NBA Finals. I don't think Darius Garland's going to get traded. I don't think that toe injury has a lot to do with it. I think the Cavs, again, are more determined to run it back with some reinforcements. People are saying, well, because of their salary cap and their financial situation, how are they going to add reinforcements? I don't think they're trading anybody from the top 7. I think Ty Jerome will be back. I think Sam Merrill will be back. Now, as I always say around my friends and around the house, I've been wrong before and I will be again. So keep all that in mind. But I do think that, look, the Cavs are trusting their body of work. 64-18. Did they get it done when it mattered? No. They need to improve. They need to get mentally tougher in the playoffs. I don't believe that's something you develop. I believe that's something you have or don't have. I think experience can help you, in the playoffs, and these road bumps in the playoffs, those can help you get mentally tougher, but it may not get you to that level. I think you need people or players who've already displayed that in their careers. And I think the Cavs think that too. But I don't think those players are going to cost you a lot, even as valuable as they can be. If you look at our NBA free agent list on hoopswire.com, you'll see some 7-footers there, 6'10" guys, 6'11", 6'9". That would immediately add toughness. I've been over this before. DeAndre Hunter in the starting lineup, as much as we love Max Strus, probably adds, I don't want to say toughness, but adds size, adds physicality. And Max Strus, he's the one guy that does add that kind of mental toughness and kind of a hard line approach to the game. So, I think that there are ways to improve from within, and I think that's what the Cavs are looking to do. And I think that's the likely scenario going into the season. What we don't realize as fans, and in my case, media members, we don't practice patience a lot. And I don't think it's just us. You look at team owners, right, in sports, firing coaches a year after hiring them. The Phoenix Suns, look at them. How many coaches now? 4 coaches. They fired 3 coaches in 3 years. That's ownership. That's what happens when fans own teams. And guess what? Most of the team owners are fans. They are fans, and these are their toys. So they don't always make the greatest decisions. We could say James Dolan in New York is a big reason the Knicks are not winning championships. Sometimes they hinder things because we don't have that perspective and patience and resolve that you sometimes need. Not to go off. I'll step off my soapbox there for a minute and go back to Cavs rumors. They have all the way till February to make a trade. They don't have to do it before the season. I would discourage them from doing it before the season unless they can make a splash. And guess what? They're not going to make a splash this offseason. They could. Kobe Altman pulls off some real surprises. When he traded for Donovan Mitchell, nobody saw that coming. Everybody said Donovan's going to New York. Then Donovan became, he came up for his contract extension. Everybody said, no, he's not going to sign that. He wants to play for the Knicks. Both times, everybody was wrong. The narrative was wrong both times. I know I've gone on radio shows. I went on with Kenny Rhoda yesterday. Many of you know who he is. He's been on this show, longtime Cleveland area sports radio host and sportscaster. Kenny just came out and said it. I want them to trade Darius Garland. And I said, for who? Who are they trading him for? You gotta come up with somebody. And I heard one radio host say the other day on the Fan that, well, can 2 ball dominant guards help with, is it kind of holding back Evan Mobley from taking yet another step? And Tim Bontemps, who was the guest from ESPN, said, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. He said, in a league that's so predicated on offense now in the NBA, I don't think you take away offense. Does having a guy instead of Darius Garland who scores 20 a game, if you put a guy in there who averages 10 a game, are you really helping yourself? Well, I could add toughness and be a good defender and all that. And it's like, yeah, I get it. But we always love, and I'm guilty of this too, the unknown, what we think we know. We always love in Cleveland. Always. I am so tired of being in love with a backup quarterback. And then the very minute he gets in there for the Browns, it's like, oh, he stinks. There was a reason he was a backup. Yeah, the coaches know by and large what they're doing. They're at practice every day. They see every day what works and what's going to help the team win. They watch film. Do you know how many hours Kenny Atkinson puts in during the season? It's basically 24/7. Kenny Atkinson has bragged to me when he went for a walk with his wife during the season. He said, I just took a step back and went for a walk with my wife this morning for like a half hour. And that was it. It was right back to work. That's what they do all day, every day, is evaluate players at practice, seeing how they perform in practice, seeing how they perform in games, seeing how they are in the locker room, studying film. They kind of know what they're doing. The general managers are right there with them. Now, there are some who have made historically bad decisions, like the guy who traded Luka Doncic. I mean, they're now those were for obviously reasons other than basketball. Doesn't seem we don't know what those are. We have no idea, but obviously reasons other than basketball because the guy's a world-class basketball player. Maybe didn't want to pay him. Maybe they just didn't like his personality. Maybe his teammates didn't like him. Maybe they felt like, well, we'll never get over the top. Whatever reason, it was to our eyes, it was a terrible trade. But obviously, this wasn't, they had their reasons. And I see a lot on my Facebook page and my Twitter account, and I love it. I love the feedback. I love it, but I see people saying we have to trade Darius Garland. No, you don't. You don't just say that about a 20-point. You know how many people are lining up to get Darius Garland? It doesn't. I've said this on Baskin and Phelps show, on the Full Court Cleveland show, and on Mark Price podcast. 3 years with a program is not a very long time, right? I look at the Cavs' fresh start when Donovan Mitchell arrived. So I'm all for them being able to run it back and see how it goes. Now, if you're, look, everybody thought during the regular season, okay, this team could go places. And you know what? If they gotten past the Indiana Pacers, they might be in the finals right now. I don't think the Cavs were supposed to be in the finals this year. I did think they were supposed to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. I certainly didn't think they were expected to win a championship. Is this team hit its ceiling? Because everything I've heard, at least on Facebook and Twitter and some of my other social media accounts or on the comments on the website, a lot of people think this team's hit its ceiling. I'm surprised by that. I'm really surprised by that. I look at like a team like the Celtics, who built around Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown year after year after year. They were not getting to the finals. And I'm sure Celtics fans were like, get rid of one of those guys and go get Kevin Durant, who back then was in his prime, or, go trade for another superstar. And I mean, we all loved seeing the Celtics falter. But I watched that thinking, you don't trade either one of those guys. You get creative enough to put the pieces you need around them. Nobody saw the Drew Holiday trade coming. Was Drew Holiday a huge splashy move? No. He's a fit. He was a fit with the Celtics. Nobody saw Kristaps Porzingis trade coming. Is he an all-star? Well, no, he can't stay on the floor. But he helps. Porzingis helps. Al Horford, he's been there forever now. You add reinforcements to what's working. That, to me, is how you build a team. You don't trade a two-time All-Star because you think, oh gosh, he's not durable, that's a silly argument. I mean, he's not Anthony Davis, where he's going down every year for 20, 40 games. Darius Garland played a career high in games this year. Look, if you can improve the team by trading Darius Garland or Jared Allen, by all means, do it. I can tell you, I do not see a path for that. You cannot just say, we're trading Darius Garland. What will you give us for him? You can say that, and everybody might say nothing. We'll give you 2 scraps and some draft picks. If you're a Cavs fan, do you want them to gut the team and go back to tanking? What if you trade Darius Garland for 3 defensive pieces and a point guard, a starting caliber point guard who's not an all-star? What if you do this? Let's say you trade him to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And boy, wouldn't that be scary? Darius Garland, Anthony Edwards. The Timberwolves aren't, they're not going to give you starters back. They love their core. They've been to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row. Everybody's mission would be to steal Darius Garland. Jared Allen, same thing. Are you going to get a double-double guy? Are you going to get a center back? Who are the centers you're going to get back for Jared Allen? I've seen people say, I'll trade Jared Allen for this wing. Like, the Cavs are already, they don't have any depth in the front court. You're going to trade for another 6'9" guy, 6'8" guy? I think it was like a 6'6" guy. I'm just like, you have to think things through. I'm not saying this Cavs team is perfect because clearly there are flaws, right? Clearly there could be adjustments made. But in reality, I'm just telling you, all these rumors, the reality is the Cavs are not looking to gut the team. They're not looking to move on from the core because they know whatever they trade from that core, they may get a guy who sounds good on paper and just isn't a fit. If the Cavs were to trade Darius Garland for Jalen Suggs and this other guy, Tristan da Silva, as the rumor has been going on, do you know what that would do to the locker room? Do you want to talk about a team that probably gets a lot worse? Donovan Mitchell would be like, what'd you do? We were 64-18. You're trading for a guy and Jalen Suggs, who's, a good defender, but he can't stay on the floor. He's wildly inconsistent, maddening to Magic fans offensively. He's tough. Bring toughness. Does toughness alone get you over the top? No. Do we look at the Indiana Pacers as a tough team? No, I do look at the Oklahoma City Thunder as that Pacers were tougher than the Cavs, but they've never been known as a tough team until that series, really. They were out-muscled the Cavs in that series. The Cavs have to get some muscle. That's probably an easy thing to do. I'm telling you, you don't. If you want to move on, and this is not a cry to trade anybody, but I'm saying if you want to move on from somebody, you could trade Max Strus. I don't think the Cavs are looking at that. There's probably not a lot of interest, but you could trade Max Strus for some size. Instead of a minimum contract guy, go get a backup center who plays 20 minutes a game. I don't like how the Cavs spent the season platooning Jared Allen and Evan Mobley because they had no other playable big man on the floor. I don't like that. I think that helps wear you down as a team. I think that you have to go, and I'm sure Kobe Altman knows this. We have to go get a big man. I was going to say 7-footer, but as I was talking to Steve before the show, did you know there are only like 85 7-footers in the entire United States? Think about that. How many people are in the U.S.? By the way, I'm not one of them. But if you think about 85, say even 90 7-footers in the United States, I bet you half of them have played pro basketball at some level, if not more than half. Because you think about, okay, I'm not talking about the NBA today. Some of these 7-footers are 60, 70 years old, maybe older. I bet they played overseas. I bet one of them has a run in Iceland. I know I would play pro basketball in Iceland if I ever got an opportunity. Wonder if they have a 55 and over league there. United States population was how much? 340.1 million. Less than 100 of them, of us, are 7 feet tall. How many 7-footers are in the NBA right now? 12? I bet 6'11". You throw 6'11" in there, you're probably not even up to 200 people. There's probably 30. If you go 6'11" and up in the NBA, Americans, now Victor Wembanyama doesn't count because he's French. But if you go Americans, there's probably 30, maybe more. So you think about how tiny that percentage of the population is 6'11" and taller. And then you think about how many of those guys are currently in the NBA. So kids, if you want to make it to the NBA, you only got to do one thing. Grow to be 6'11" or taller. You're in. You're in. I guarantee you, with my skills, with probably your skills, definitely with Steve Bader's skills, you could at least be Dean Wade at 6'10". Probably a lot better. Maybe like you probably wouldn't be Kevin Durant, who's a 7-footer, but you know, who knows? Maybe you would be. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, that's a huge way to get to the NBA, and the Cavs need one of those guys who can play. Playable. Tristan Thompson, everybody loves him. Won the championship a decade ago. But if you're not going to play him, you can't have him holding up a roster spot, because that is so valuable of a spot, and it's a big need for the Cavs. So when it comes to Cavs rumors, let me just say this. I think there's a lot of fiction here. They're not pushing to move Darius Garland or Jared Allen. I don't suspect that they will. They are more open to it. If teams call, they're probably going to say, yeah, well, we'll listen. What are you offering? Okay, nothing as usual. Fine. Then you hang up. I know what it was. It was Jared Allen to the Pelicans for Trey Murphy. I like Trey Murphy. He's a nice player. He's 6'8". And he plays like he's like a 6'8" shooting guard. I'm just like, okay, who plays center? Oh, Evan Mobley. Okay, who plays power forward? DeAndre Hunter. You've just gotten worse and ruined your shot at getting to the finals with that trade. They can't just make a trade for the sake of it because you're angry at a player for not playing like a super duper all-star in the playoffs against the Pacers. The Cavs need upgrades. They need reinforcements. The Oklahoma City Thunder last year, best record in the NBA, right? Or was it best record in the Western Conference? Sorry. Last year, Oklahoma City Thunder, best record in Western Conference, bounced in the second round. Oh, we got to gut the team. Now they traded their starting point guard, Josh Giddey, for what at the time seemed like kind of a downgrade in Alex Caruso, who comes off the bench. Now that's not a splashy big move. If Josh Giddey was a 2-time All-Star, I'd have been like, wow, they traded Josh Giddey. And guess what? He's playing really well in Chicago. In fact, the Bulls had a resurgence after the All-Star break. Josh Giddey's a huge reason why. But he wasn't a fit in Oklahoma City, it didn't seem like. It's a great fit in Chicago. So I would say that we have to be very careful as far as what the Cavs are actually looking to do. They want to find an Alex Caruso and an Isaiah Hartenstein. That's what they want to do. If you know who those two guys are, they came to the Thunder this year. They immediately added defensive toughness. In order to get those players, you may have to trade a Max Strus. You're not trading DeAndre Hunter. I've seen that online. They're not even going to consider that. Unless it's a big splash, unless it's like a huge upgrade. Oh, we got Jaylen Brown. Okay. And you're not. You're going to get players who aren't as skilled as the players you're trying to trade. Because the Cavs are in that salary situation, this is really going to make trades difficult. I think it's time to move on from Isaac Okoro. I think the Cavs think that. Can't just give him away. He does add value. Can't just say, we'll give you now, maybe you do. Maybe you do say, we'll give you Isaac Okoro, Charlotte Hornets for your second round pick. It's about as good as you're going to get. Washington Wizards, you've got like 8 draft picks. Give us 2 of your second rounders for Okoro. And we'll use those second rounders for something eventually. If not now, then next season. It's probably time to give Jalen Tyson those minutes. Immediately adds toughness, grit. We saw that his rookie year. He can play some backup point guard. He can handle the ball. He can distribute. We need more Jalen Tyson minutes. I believe Jalen Tyson is going to be what the Cavs were hoping they would get from Isaac Okoro. And Isaac Okoro has his moments and he adds some things. So don't get me wrong, but I believe he's hit his ceiling in Cleveland. Maybe, fresh start, maybe Detroit Pistons. I'm always a proponent of trying to trade guys out of your conference. So if there's a team in the West that wants to sign and trades an option for a second apron team, yes, Victor, they are, as long as you take back the same salary. That's doable. What you can't do, obviously, is aggregate salary. So you couldn't sign and trade Ty Jerome or Sam Merrill and throw in Dean Wade, which you normally could do. And that's not to pick on Dean Wade, but just an example. You can't aggregate what's known as aggregating salaries or add in another player. The Cavs are in a position where they have to trade one guy for matching salaries. So I don't think that's something they will explore unless somebody really, really, really wants Ty Jerome. Then you might explore that. I think Ty Jerome's going to come back to the Cavs and get another crack at the playoffs. I don't know who you're going to, I really like Craig Porter Jr. too. But again, this goes back to the Browns' backup quarterback situation. Guys always look great when they're only playing a little bit. It's the longer you play, the more opportunity you have to be exposed. So, yeah. So, real quick, I think that the Cavs, okay, we'll discuss this more. Look, the draft is in 2 weeks. I couldn't be more excited. And the Cavs don't even have a first-round pick. But I just love the NBA draft. If you want to know, Steve knows this. You don't bother me during Browns games. And you can't bother me during the NBA draft, because I am sitting there with every pick, writing every pick as it happens on the website. And I just love it. It's one night. It's one night where it's like, I'm working for the next 24 hours. At least 19 of the next 24. And I love it because it's like, this is all that matters right now. And then the next day, it's like, oh, we got to follow up with who's didn't get drafted, but is signing with teams as a rookie free agent. By the way, I do have a little bit of Cavs draft news. The Cavs worked out Villanova forward Eric Dixon today ahead of the draft. He's a potential second-round pick. This is from my good friend, Spencer Davies, another guy who got a start on his website, on my website, now is kind of a freelancer, does such a fantastic job. Spencer put Cavs worked out Villanova forward Eric Dixon today. We'll have this on the website later, hoopswire.com. He is a burly forward, according to Spencer, who won the NCAA men's scoring title. NCAA men's scoring champion. All right. I'm all for that. He was first team All Big East and third team All-American. Eric Dixon. Every year I go through and look and see who's the leading scorer in the country. Not just in NCAA Division I, but 2 and 3. I don't know why. I think that's the coolest thing ever. If you can consistently score 28, 30 points a game at any level, that to me is really cool. I like it more than championships because I'm troubled. And whoever came up with the tie, they were like, you're already wearing a coat and tight shirt, a jacket and a tight shirt. Let's add this thing to make you more uncomfortable. And we got to do it sometimes. Clearly, I don't for this show or at the hoopswire.com corporate offices. I don't need to dress up for that, even though I'm supposedly in charge. So the NBA Finals real quick. I know some people I see in the comments are like, why are we talking about the Pacers or the Thunder? I just want to say that those are two good examples for the Cavs to follow. And I have thoroughly enjoyed watching these finals. I think the basketball is fantastic. I think that the Cavs, these two teams are blueprints for the Cavs. They stayed the course. They added a little bit of reinforcements. The Pacers didn't add any reinforcements, really. They went 10 and 15. They were like, we're just staying the course. We'll see how it goes. And guess what? They turned it around. Second best record in the NBA behind the Thunder since January 1st. And now leading the Thunder in the final. Everybody has asked me, well, isn't this a huge, Pacers number 4 seed? I'm like, I get it. If you don't watch the NBA, if you're not, it's not your job, I probably wouldn't be watching the Indiana Pacers, but I watched them all season, and they went to these finals last year, and I was like, what's wrong with them? Start the year, I'm like, what's going on? 10 and 15? Halliburton was struggling? Stuck with it. Didn't listen to the narrative. Oh, Tyrese Halliburton's a flop. He's the most overrated. And it's more than Halliburton. Aaron Nesmith couldn't shoot during the regular season. Thomas Bryant, people were like, this is going to be our backup center. You don't listen to the narrative if you're teams. Don't. That's my advice to running NBA teams or NFL teams. Don't listen to the narrative. Go with your gut, see what works. And a lot of times it works out. What do I think the Cavs need? Reinforcements, toughness. Go out and find those guys. That's just my opinion. They could win a championship without any of that. I seriously believe that. You got to go through a world of muck sometimes to get to where you want to go. They've gone through a little bit of muck. Some of it their own doing. Okay, learn from it. 64 and 18. Next year goes 60 and whatever, 32 or 22. As you can see, they promised me no math with this job. But you go 60 and 22 next year and then get to the finals. It's possible. It's possible. All right, well, have a wonderful Friday the 13th. If you're bored, just text me or whatever and come on over and watch Friday the 13th. Probably 1, 2, and 3 with me. I'm more than happy to have you. Also, if you'd like to spend Father's Day weekend with me, we could do Friday and Saturday. Sunday, I leave it for kind of like gifts and cards and stuff. So I wouldn't ask you to do that. But yeah, so myself and my Super Dad mug are going to sign off this week. Always feel free to hit me up on Facebook, either on the 330 to go page in the comments below this video, or on the Amico Hoops page, or of course at hoopswire.com. So thanks a lot for joining us, and we will talk to you again on Friday the 20th. See you then.